Hello,
Hey, hi.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good, good.
So, it's like how long? I just figured it out. It's been almost, what do you call, 55 years?
Yeah, it was 68 this came out, sort of winter.
Yeah.
I think it's some places it aired in December of 68.
Yeah.
So yes, that's
You know what? It's the first time I've seen the episode today. I
oh
never,
right. Yeah.
the fact. I mean, my kids have seen it in America. It was repeated in the US a few times. They saw it there, and my wife saw it, and a couple of other people have seen it. But I saw it for the first time today.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
Yeah, I remember doing it so well.
Hmm.
And Ray, of course. Um, so it was. I was doing a lot of television at the time.
Hmm.
It was almost like one after another kind of thing. I did Emergency Ward 10. There was a bit of a break there, and then I was very successful on television. And the directors at the time were some of the directors were kind of very bossy sort of people, like
Right.
sort of, kind of some sort of odd school kind of headmasters, sort of, very kind of, and especially with young actors who were on their way up, sort of thing.
Hmm.
And so Ray was a breath of fresh air. I
Right.
mean, he was a great guy to work
Hmm.
with. I met him for the first time on location. I never had an interview with him for casting. I was just cast and I was in the show.
Hmm.
And the difference was like, with the successive people I'd worked with on a couple of other shows. Thames Television, I did a show for just before then. And I think one of the reasons I couldn't see this episode, because actually I was engaged in doing something for the Beeb. I was in Bristol. But like Ray was, and there was a bit of, I remember, there was a bit of a drama on this episode that happened with one of the producers or associate producer, what was his name? Johnny Goodman.
Johnny Goodman. Yes.
Yeah. And I was actually late. And as you know, the television scene is a very tight schedule sort of thing. I think an hour late because the studios were out of town, like up in Elstree. It was being shot at the AB Associated British Studios up in Elstree, Borehamwood.
Hmm.
And I just overslept. And I just made it, but I was an hour late. And Johnny Goodman was very sort of like over the top and took my stand-in away to teach me a lesson kind of thing and gave it to somebody else. Well, it didn't make any difference to me. But Ray, just looked at me and kind of smiled when I just appeared because I was out during the night with a couple of famous people who drank a lot, but I never drank.
Hmm.
And so he was so calm, and it was so refreshing to actually work with a director for me at that time. One of my favorites used to be, like, and he just kind of like put across in sort of body language communication to say, it's okay, kid, take it easy. There's no problem.
Hmm.
Let's go. So, that was just phenomenal. It meant a great deal. And a very relaxed person and very easygoing man. I was very confident of this, what he was doing. And that was kind of my the stronger memory of this thing. But I remember doing the episode, almost all the scenes. And he was mostly shot on, in what you call stage I think, soundstage 7, 6 at the associate. Those studios don't exist anymore, I don't think.
No, I don't think they do.
Yeah, I actually started work there. I worked across the road was the ATV studio, not across the road, but just around down the road, where we did Emergency Ward 10. Then I started work at the MGM studios. The MGM studios, I know, is gone. And I did a few series down here, episodes on some series at the Associated British Studios. So that was great. And unfortunately, I never got a chance to work with Ray again. And that was it. And it just kind of like was generally a very good experience for me. Yes. You know, primarily because of him. And of course, I knew a couple of people. I knew Michael Robbins, and we'd done work before, and I knew Julian Cherrier, he was in it, and another actor, and of course Imogen, and I became great friends, and she was just an amazing person, but very good friends.
Okay, so right, okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for joining us to talk about this episode of The Saint. We're celebrating tonight the People Importers. We're going to begin with a little tribute to the director, Ray Austin, somebody that I knew, happy to say, quite well for the last couple of years. I did 11 events like this with Ray, and he also popped in as a sort of guest in and out briefly on a few others, just to say hello to people we hadn't worked with or seen for many years. So he was a very generous man and supported what I was doing, just to see a little hobby during lockdown, really, is how it started. And he was very, very encouraging. And I'm not sure if I would be sitting here tonight if it wasn't for people like Ray encouraging me. So it was very important to me. And we're going to have a little chat about Ray, I'm sure, through the evening. Ray was very interested in doing an event for this episode. It was something that we had discussed on a couple of occasions. And he asked me to get a compilation of his work from his time on The Saint, because people don't know, Ray started off as a stuntman, stunt coordinator, assistant director, and then obviously became a director. So he asked me just to get a few clips together of his acting roles in The Saint, but a lot of it is being beaten up by Roger Moore. He was Roger's favorite stunt guy on the series. Ray said to me that some of the stunt people, Roger didn't really know if they were going to accidentally throw a punch and it would hit him on the nose, but he knew, working with Ray, that he wouldn't get hurt and it would be done well. So they always liked the chemistry they had together, which is why Ray appears in so many episodes of The Saint before he then graduated to directing. Also, I did have a conversation with Ray over the phone that I did record, where we talk about this particular episode of The Saint. So I thought it might be a nice sort of start to sort of share that recording and use it as a little introduction to this event. Due to technology, it might not work. So if you can't hear, we can always scrap it and I can insert it into the recording later on, but we'll try and see if we can hear my conversation with Ray about the episode. It's 6 minutes long, but it should be quite interesting. So we'll just do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. Okay. So just for a picture of Ray behind the recording. So this is obviously just audio.
When do you think this picture was taken?
I'm not sure when that was taken. That must have been taken. I would have thought it's maybe 5 or 6 years old, that picture. I know it was one of I think it's one of Ray's favorites because it seems to be on his website, and it's still up. If people want to go on his website, rayaustin.com, people can find a lot of information about him. So I'm just going to share the audio, which will mean that you won't be able to hear me and I won't be able to hear you, but you'll be able to hopefully hear the conversation.
Oh.
And if it doesn't work, then we can obviously go to plan B. So okay, so here we go. Okay. Hi Ray.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, hanging in there. Hanging in.
Good, good.
That would be a fun one to do.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's many of them about in that one anymore.
No, I think one of the main cast, I think I read in a bit of my prep, was apparently he had a heart attack on the show and died while you were filming. I don't know if you remember.
Right. Yeah.
Remember
Gary
that?
Miller.
Yeah, yeah.
Gary Miller. Yeah, I was at home. Well, the incredible thing was it was my first whole show.
Hmm.
I'd never directed a complete episode ever.
Yeah.
And that was the first one that Bob Baker and Roger Moore gave me.
Hmm.
And the second night or third night, I was sitting at home and the phone went. It was Robert Baker, and he said, "I've got some bad news for you." And I thought, Christ, my dailies are bad, or something's wrong. He's going to fire me.
Yeah.
Because it was my first show. And as I say, only second year until then. And he said, "Gary Miller has just dropped dead in a nightclub in Soho."
Right.
So Roger's comment was, "Well, if anyone can get round it, you can. You've doubled enough people and you've worn enough wigs, you'll know how to do it."
Yeah.
Didn't know how to do it. I used stuntmen and people that looked like him. And then what we had to do at the end, because we couldn't get anyone to match his voice properly, and the man who did the voices over in those days was a guy called Roy Rossetti. Roy Rossetti, yeah. He did all the voiceovers for Jack Hawkins and all that when Jack Hawkins got cancer. So Roy did the whole part again right from the beginning. He looped him even when he was facing camera and that. Before he died, he looped the whole thing again. Roy Rietti. And he looped the whole thing on his back, on his side, and the full face stuff. We re-looped the whole thing, so we didn't know it wasn't Gary Miller's voice, but it's not Gary Miller's voice anywhere through it.
Oh right, yeah.
Because Gary was a singer as well.
Yeah.
When it was Roy Rietti, wasn't it?
Oh, was it Robert? Robert?
Robert Rivera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Rivera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is an interesting conversation piece when we do the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because he did a few of the Bond films. Robert, he did lots of voices for Bonds, and he did the Persuaders and all sorts of. I did meet him actually towards the end of his life. He was I think he was 93, I think, when he died, but he was doing conventions pretty much up to that. He was quite frail when I saw him. I think it was 2012, but lovely guy, real gentleman.
Oh, Superman. He and Charles Gray used to do Jack Hawkins after Jack Hawkins had cancer and had his voice box taken out.
Ah, right.
2 or 3 different movies, because people still wanted to work Jack because they felt very sorry for him.
Yeah.
And Charles Gray voiced him on the first 2 pictures, I think, for nothing. He couldn't charge anything. Because he made him charge a minimum charge or something like, I don't know, it was £100 or something, minimum charge. I think Roy did it because it was Roy's profession, Robert's profession. He was a voiceover man.
Yeah.
So he obviously charged his full price for doing it. But Charles Gray, bless him, he did 2 pictures of Jack and never charged a penny except what he had to charge for equity.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But Matt Wharton, if you do YouTube, if you get YouTube and do up Gary Miller, you'll see some of his nightclub performances.
Oh,
And
yeah.
He's a good singer.
Yeah.
He's a good singer.
Yeah.
He had 2 or 3 hit songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll look it up. Yeah, that'd be very good.
Yeah. Nice guy. Nice guy. But it was a big shock that he passed on, especially on my first show.
Well, yeah, trial by.
I really thought Bob Baker, with the bad news, was going to fire me. I thought I'd done something terrible wrong, and that was it. But then he put Roger on the phone, and Roger explained, and I got away with it. When you're watching the show, you can see that I've shot a lot of it on his back.
Yeah.
A lot of it in wide angle. We couldn't get to him. We got away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just lucky you had enough to make it work, you know. And but yeah, we'll trial by fire.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Okay, listen. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it. Give my love to your wife.
I'll pass it on, Ray. Love to Wendy as well.
Okay, will do. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye for now, Ray. Take care.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Could you hear that? Okay.
Yeah, sort of. Not all of it with clarity, but like I heard most of it.
Oh, good. Yes, I can always send you a copy of it to have a look at later. But
Sure.
yeah, I thought it was some very insightful comments in. I'm sure we will echo some of that as we go along in the episode. I just wanted to thank Ray's wife Wendy for very kindly allowing me to use that recording. It's a very kind person to do so.
Very nice.
So before we start the episode, I know Ray would love everybody to see some clips of him in action back in his prime. So I'm just going to quickly show this.
Yes.
And then we can get started.
Sure. Oh, there he is.
Okay. So here we go. Is
that Peter Cushing? No, it looks like him.
I don't think so. But yeah, we got a little chat after the clip.
Yeah. That's Ray doing his stunt job.
You're lying. You don't have the brains. Now, who masterminded this whole affair? Drop it. Drop it. Rico?
Yes.
Who are you? Who sent you? Nakano?
Matter.
Come on! Don't you know, Mr. Alfieri? That was foolish. Whatever your game is, you know too much. £5 million worth? You just signed your death certificate.
Dammi la tua mano, la mi dirà di sì. Vedi una bella mano, dammi a belli con me. La non vorrei.
But you done that one? Do this.
Did you hear? I was not listening. I said wash my car. I have to do a finish of this one first.
Well, if you're going to do it, mate, make a good job of it.
Should have done with that. Now I've got to watch it all again. Hey.
What a ridiculous way to wash. I'm ready, Sebastian.
Governor? New chauffeur, you're Sebastian.
No.
He's no chauffeur.
Okay.
What I say?
He has the finest references from the Countess.
I don't care what he's got, he's no chauffeur. No chauffeur's ever knocked me around like this.
Maybe you'd better keep an eye on him and see what he's up to.
It'll be a pleasure.
This is before he was rated.
What is this?
I'm
I'm just a tourist. What do you want? Money?
No, information. The name first.
John Smith. Passport? In my hotel room.
Yeah?
That's impossible.
Thanks.
Goodbye. Where the hell have you been?
Look, I've had enough trouble for today. You talk to me nice, else I'm gonna quit.
Now, what happened to you? Did you follow them?
Yeah.
Well?
Sebastian met a friend. A man who calls himself John Smith. But his real name is Nakaro.
Alessandro Nakaro, Domenico's son. So Sebastian was planted.
You mean he's a copper?
Okay, so again, that video was actually supplied by Ray. It was a sort of 18-minute look at his sort of stunt and acting career, and he asked me to sort of chop that section out. So it ends a bit abruptly, but that's how I got it in the first place. So I hope some of that was interesting to see.
Oh yeah, very interesting. I see, just bringing back the entire old period.
Yes, it's it's basically, I think it's mostly the black and white ones that he worked on in that capacity, and of course he went to color for the last series, which is obviously the ones that you did. So I think we'll make a start on the episode itself. So for those that want to watch it, I'll do a countdown from 5, then we'll play. So if everybody's ready to start, I will press play in a few seconds time. Okay, so the opening shot, of course, is just on the boat and in the sea. So that's the shot that I paused on. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. So the episode opens with an actor called Michael Robbins. Did you ever encounter Michael at all?
Yeah. We worked together a couple of times, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Michael and I. Yes. Nice fellow. Good actor.
He's one of those actors that appears in quite a lot of culture like this, Doctor Who,
yes. Yes.
I think I first saw him watching Pink Panther Strikes Again, where he plays a delightful drag artist in the film.
Very versatile actor, actually, very good, fun guy,
Yes. And his character bookends the episode quite nicely, I think. Sadly, he died quite young. He was only 62 when he died.
Really? Good grief. When was that?
1992. He passed away.
I was there then. Heavens. Okay.
So I just wanted to start by just asking how you got involved in the Saint to begin with.
As I said earlier, I was doing just a lot of television. I was reasonably successful. Career was going well, and I was doing a lot of television suddenly. And I was just cast in the show. I just appeared on the first day at ABP, and we started shooting, and I met Ray, and that was instantly a very good experience for me, because Ray was very friendly, easy, youngish director, and who was very confident of his angles and things, and shooting the stuff, and just very easy, nice person to work with, in actual fact, and good guy, a really pleasant. It was like a breath of fresh air for me, because I'd just done a couple of shows. I think one of them was Champions, and a couple of episodes on that. I think John Moxey was the director on that, and then there was another one who was, I mean, there were, I did I was doing pretty much almost one after another television show, a few weeks break, a month's break, and then another one and another one. It was very good for me for that time. And as I was saying, some of the directors at that time were a bit bossy and not very kind of like, easy to work with, because they were like, headmasters, like, and not very, and especially with young actors who were on their way up, they were kind of like, out there to bring them down, sort of thing. That's what I felt. And there were people like Don Sharp and so on, who was really one of my favorites. I mean, he was a good director, good guy, great fun, Australian guy. He did a couple of movies for Hammer, in actual fact, when I worked on one of those. And then we had Ray. I just showed up and I just met him for the first time. He kind of looked like, he was the fittest director I met for the first time. I mean, he was in good nick, and he looked good, and he was very easy. And that day, I think one of the days, it was a problem, because I was out the night before a couple of these guys who were, you know, known kind of drink people in the business. And I got up late. You know, I just overslept. And it was a bit of a drama there on that episode. I mean, you know, like I was 1 hour late, which was actually on a TV schedule. You know, that's late. And Johnny Goodman, one of the producers, created a bit of a fuss. And I remember he sort of kind of came waving his finger at me, and he took away my stand-in sort of thing, teach me a lesson or whatever. It didn't matter to me. But Ray is what mattered. Right? Ray was easy. It was just fine. I was there. It was okay. He'd done some other stuff in the meantime. And he just looked at me and he said, take it easy. It's okay. Let's go. And that was it, you know, and that was, whew, you know, that was like a good director who for you know, he knew the camera, because like, you know, they would sort of, I think it was shot on soundstage 7, I think, because most of the same sets were there on that stage. And he was very kind of clear about his shots. And it registered with me because, you know, I was interested in making my own films. And I was kind of like, you know, very aware of this kind of situation, how the film was being shot. And it was not as easy to move the cameras and lights at that time, because we had these big BNC Mitchells with a attached viewfinder. It was not reflex cameras, you know, you had to just shift the whole thing over to the film to run. And he was, but Ray was very easy. That's something which actually I really appreciated as a young person and enjoyed doing with him, because the energy works like that on a set. You know, if the director is cool, you know, everything is kind of okay. It just kind of like, you know, the current flows, and it sets everybody and puts them in kind of easy state of mind. And that was Ray, you know, that was so, I never forgot about him. And that experience with him. And unfortunately, never had a chance to work with him again. But there you go. I mean, you know, so a bunch of people I knew on the show. I mean, Michael Robbins and Imogen, sadly, she'd gone also. And Julian Cherrier, who was in it. And I don't know what's become of him. And Lennon, you know, this guy called, this show has, you know, this is the first time I've seen this show today.
Yeah.
I never saw it. I mean, you know, my kids have seen it when they were in the US, and because it was aired, repeated there a couple of times. One time I came home and they said to me, we just finished watching a show from the old Saint. And, you know, I'd never seen it before. I had a clip of that. I put it on my Instagram. A friend of mine, Peter Bradley, recorded it on his cell phone. He was just watching it on his TV. And that's the only thing I've seen until today. I saw the first episode, first time today, after 58, whatever years. I mean, that's quite a bit. And it brought a whole lot of things back. And the most interesting part in that was Ray, because, you know, like, you know, someone like my education for making films happened in the studios, because I was just kind of like, you know, in with not so much the actors, but more with the crew, with the technicians, with the gaffers. And I go have a drink with them, chat with them and stuff like that. And I just wanted to always, you know, I was zeroed in how the film was being shot. I mean, you know, I knew I had to do my job, which was acting, and I did it to the best of my ability. But it was an extraordinary, that was a good guideline for me to be kind of, you know, because until then, I had never met, after doing a lot of TV. I mean, I did Emergency Ward 10 back then also, for almost almost a year, about 9 months, I think, 2 shows a week. And most directors that came on, the producer was great, Cecil Petty. He was an old-time number. He was really kind of an old-time pro. But the directors were always not very certain of themselves. And I had not done features yet, you know, and Ray was one of the first directors. I'd worked with a lot of directors on television. There was James McTaggart. I loved working with him. I did a show for BBC almost at the same time as we did this episode up in Bristol, with written by Charles Wood. Tony Garnett produced it. And I'd love to be able to see it sometime, because I can't get to it, the link. I know it's there, but it's with Leonard Rossiter. I had a very good part in that. And yeah, James McTaggart was a very clear and interesting director, and Ray was one of them, and Don Sharp. And then later on the movies was a different scene. But the thing is that this was a very enjoyable, I mean, you know, it was other than the little bit of drama that I had with Mr. Goodman, trying to show his power, you know. Other than that, it was. I got to know Roger a bit, but you know, I know for a fact he couldn't fight to save his life. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, you know, there's the boom, one punch, and he was a very pleasant person. He was a very funny guy, and was nice working. It was a good atmosphere, and the last show I did with, I forget the name of this director. My God, he was really not a very pleasant person. Was The Champions, and then this thing, and I think the production teams were the same, pretty much. I don't know. Same studio, but like. So I had hoped that I'd work with Ray one more time, but we never got the chance to do that. Things just went on and on and on. So, you know, that's it.
I suppose that's the thing, the nature of the business, isn't it? You're in and out of people's lives, and some people come back.
Yeah.
People don't.
Yeah, and so anyway, I mean, a lot of the old guys were there on that in that show. That was fun because everybody actually knew everybody else, and at one time or another worked with each other. And Imogen I met for the first time, and I became good friends with her. She was a fabulous person. I'm really was really shocked to hear that she the way she died and very young. And other than that, I
I wanted to mention the writer of the episode, Donald James, who had done a lot of things like The Saint, The Persuaders, Mission Impossible, 11 Round and Hopkirk. So very established sort of writer. Interestingly, on the Internet Movie Database, Ray Austin is credited as being an uncredited writer on the episode. I did get a chance to ask Ray about it, and he said that that's a mistake. He didn't write at all for the Saint. He did go on to write around Hopkirk and then a series of novels and things in his later life, but he never wrote for the Saint. So that's a bit of a rumor that isn't true. I was just wondering what you thought of the script and the subject matter, and perhaps seeing it again today, how you feel because it's still a very timely episode, isn't it? I think
it is very timely, actually. Things it's still going on in it. Sort of, it's kind of like, you know, developed, it's become more sophisticated, and people are dying the same way. I mean, recently they kind of like something like 200 people or something died in a coming going from this country, from Pakistan, to somewhere in Europe, and you know, they just died in the ocean, in the Mediterranean, which is a rough sea, that piece of sea between Italy and the Middle East. And it's still going on. But, you know, at that time, like, can you imagine? This thing has been going on since then. And very timely indeed. And the thing is this, that it was also a very popular subject matter, because I did a show called The Strange Report. Small character, very interesting character, with Anthony Quayle in it. And this show was some kind of detective something, you know, and it was American producers. And I just looked at the script and I thought, whoa, I've done this before. And the guy said, what do you mean? I said, you know, I just did this Saint with Ray Austin directing. This is the same story. It's kind of very similar. Maybe people had some kind of, you know, connection somewhere. But so that sort of thing, it was very strange to have that. But it's a very timely story. I mean, it's a serious racket. It's very unfortunate. And for the time when that was done, I mean, it did make an impact, because like, you know, 50 plus years ago, it was kind of a shocker kind of thing.
Yeah, perhaps things that people weren't so much aware of highlighted an issue, certainly. One of the actors playing one of the immigrants will be quite well known to the audience. Kevok Malekyan. He also appeared in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Do you remember Kevok at all?
No, I don't know. I didn't know any of them, in actual fact.
You didn't know any of them prior to sort of?
Prior to, no.
Yeah.
No, I had no. Yeah, no, none of them. I only, I never had worked with any of them.
Okay. So apart from the occasional perhaps chat on set, you didn't really have too much.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I had no. Yes. Yeah. It was, but like. What was it? Ray, when did he move to the United States? When did he go there?
Late 70s. So he went on to do things like The Return of the Saint and The New Avengers. American producers saw some of his New Avengers work, particularly an episode called Target, which I recommend to anybody watching this. It's a really good episode. They saw and said, we want the guy who directed that to come over to America. And he was offered an extensive contract, I think 13 hours of television to direct, which for a Brit to be offered that was pretty much unheard of. The producers of Return of the Saint, which are funny enough, the same Robert S. Baker, who did your version of the Saint, was also doing Return of the Saint, and very graciously let him out of his contract so he could go off to America. And then he moved, late 70s, he moved over and never looked back, sort of had a huge career, sort of doing various sort of TV shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Heart to Heart and Magnum PI, you kind of name it, and he did it really. So it's quite a feat. I wanted to mention Susan Travers, who plays Laura Stevens in the episode, sort of the villain's sort of love interest. Do you remember Susan Travers at all?
Yeah, I do. I remember well. I had never worked with her before, but I'd seen, maybe I did, I don't know. But I've seen her on TV a lot of times. A good actress. And I never actually met her on the set because I didn't have any scenes with her. And it was yeah, and well, Michael Robbins was well, we had a gig of met there with the Johnny Goodman episode, and so that was it. But I was in the United States for quite some time, but I never. I didn't know Ray was there. I mean, you know, I had people, I knew people, a couple of friends who were actually directing on television regularly. Friend Stephen Rodman, who just did most of the pilots for a lot of the series. And I heard that Ray was directing something from him because we were talking about this Saint piece, and directors, basically directors in my career, early part of my career. And so I would always mention Ray because he had, you know, it was just a very good experience for me working with him. And so Steve told me, he said that, you know, he's out here, he's actually doing something, directing a show. And then, you know, America is kind of like, you know, like it's kind of like bit vast, and you know, you kind of like, I never came across him again. It was such a thing. And but you know, like the thing is this, and you come at this point in time, and I often think about, obviously the past is constantly alive in my head. I mean, all those years in England is a very significant part of my life, in actual fact. And you just kind of, you know, I live it. You know, I mean, I'm moving on in my life. I do things, and I have to kind of just keep going. But the thing is, and mercifully, I'm in good nick for film work. But the thing is that it's that time was just I don't know. It would never happen again. It was just a magical period. The whole of that time in England, I'm in London, in the 60s. You know, there was a center of the earth. I mean, you know, it was just magical. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, you know, like everybody, you know, all of us, I mean, you know, like in the business. I mean, we had a lot of friends and people in the music business, and the writers and people starting to direct, theater, actors, a whole number. I mean, you know, Queen's Elms on Fulham Road was one of the kind of hangouts for us, and a couple of other places. Just go there, have a pint, and chit chat and stuff, play music, and move on. But the whole feeling that at that time was, it was just kind of like, you know, it was like pulsating with just energy of excitement. I felt that sort of thing for the first time when I mean, you know, I left England basically for about 3 months. I was gone because I had been gone for more than a decade. I had never returned back. I've been almost out for 11 years, and my dad died, and that was a big one. So I had to go back and actually be there. But he was a dramatist. He was one of the kind of extraordinary playwrights of this region, and he grew up in his work in the Max Reinhardt Company and the Berlin period prior to Nazi Germany, and with like a lot of people had to really escape actually at the end. And the thing is, I cut a long story short, but I had just unfinished a film, a feature film. I was playing the lead in that feature film. It was became very successful, a private enterprise. I couldn't even get back for the for the showing of the movie because I had got involved in setting up a theater workshop that was named after my father. And because they were actually, extraordinary thing had happened, because I went and he had broadcast. A lot of his stuff would go on the radio. It was like Mr. Radio Drama, pre-partition India, and from that time. But like, I just wanted his recordings, because a lot of his talks about theater and drama and literature were all in English, and the plays were in mixture of languages that he wrote: German, English, he wrote Punjabi, he wrote in Urdu, Pashto, and Sanskrit. Very versatile, kind of, extraordinary. And I couldn't find them. I mean, like they said, we can't find them. I said, how is it possible? They were simply removed. It's jealousy factors. I thought, Jesus wept. I mean, the thing is this, so I had to actually just get down there and actually make a company, a theater workshop named after my father, called Rafi Theater Workshop. And I was just feverishly working. Everything was going against me. The government, the thing, they wanted me uprooted and gone. I mean, it was like almost like a police. It was a police state, but with a veneer of democracy and whatnot. And I just forgot that. I mean, I would have gone in a whole different world. I couldn't connect with the mechanics of the system, expression, and so on and so forth. And he was suddenly, a few years gone. And then when I got back to England, it was almost 3 years, 3.5 years. It was a long time. And did a couple of shows. And I'd done another movie, which I played the two main leads. It was shot here, but it did well in Europe and in England, Blood of Hussein. And then I went to America shortly after that. Because I was making my own films. I made my own films, and both my films, or one of my films, they put several court cases on me, and they put all kinds of subversion and treason, and heaven knows what kind of charges. And I can't show that film here no more. And my other film was kind of stopped from screening. It was post-produced in England, and it was just not shown. Was the court cases again and so on. So very, very strange experience. And but recently, I mean, it's very interesting that we're doing this. I've been writing about that time off and on. I'm doing shorts and videos, and I'm planning to do a bunch of things about my time and my life in this industry in England. And because that was actually when I was leaving in the early 60s, my father said to me, he said, there's no drama school that is going to teach you this work. If you're lucky enough to be inside a studio, you will learn from the professionals. And it was so true. I mean, I started my career as an extra. I went to the film schools. I did not want to go to a school. I went to London Film School. I thought, fine, okay, I'll just maybe try to do a diploma in cinematography and photography, because, that's what I was a very visual person. I could see things. I sketched a lot. And Dad bought me a camera when I was about 14, and I just did a lot of photographs and so on. But I thought, heavens, I mean, this is not the place. So I tried to, getting an actor meant that you had to be with the equity, and there was a long line, because do you have a job? No, so, you go for a job, they say, are you a member of the equity? And you keep going around. And so I joined the extra union. And strangely, I went to check my application because the extra union office was not that far away from my home. So the lady there out there at the reception said, the chairman wants to see you. And so fine. And this old guy came in and he said, are you Rafi's son? And I said, yeah, I am. And like, yeah, gosh, he was my dad's old friend, Jake Grant Anderson. He was a theater director and producer, and both of them had a joint company. All way back when my father came back from Germany, back to what was then called India. And their joint company was traveling across India doing, shows with a couple of very known people from India who became very famous and stuff. My first experience in the at the time, I loved that because I could actually be inside a studio, soundstage. And the first movie that I worked on, I think that was Shepperton or the old MGM Studios. It doesn't exist now. Because Kirk Douglas and David Niven were starring in the movie, and they had Rome Airport set built in the studio. And I just come from Rome. I'd seen Rome Airport, and I thought, my God, I mean, this is Rome Airport. And I used to watch these kind of like, who are the successful extras. I mean, they were very good. And they were sort of, and keep them. So they used to keep the assistants well oiled, a drink here and a drink there and nice conversations and so on and so forth. And I watched all of that. And I was just focused on watching them, how they were making the movie. Director was a Val Guest, his big cigar and his protruding belly and so on. And with these old Mitchell BNCs and moviola crab dollies. I was just totally fascinated, setting up the shot and how it was being lit and so on and so forth. And I found the technicians very interesting because I always knew that they made the movies. It was like the gaffers and the old guys, because later on when I worked with the Bolting brothers, which was a phenomenal experience, they were so good with me. And I found a huge, big support in them always. I did 2 films with Roy, and it was a wonderful experience. It was Twisted Nerve and another movie with John Hurt in it. It was the, that's how I started, and eventually got my equity and got in a good agent finally after some theater and so on. And a few television jobs, and I ended up playing one of the main doctors in Emergency Ward 10. That just kind of like turned things on, and after that it was just a lot of television, one after another. Some of them very good shows. This show I never forgot.
Yes,
I never forgot this show, only because of Ray. Because Ray had such a vibe. It was like kind of like, very, I don't know how to describe it anymore like that, but it was just like calmness, confidence, knowing what you're doing. Okay, no big scenes, no big kind of trouble. I mean, how are we going to do this? How are we going to, just kind of like, and good communication with the actors. And that's it. So like, it was, so that time was just, it had something special about it. That time will never come back again. It's gone forever.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm just kind of like, I feel myself so lucky to have been part of that magical experience. I mean, everywhere. He had it, that current was everywhere. I mean, there were all kinds of people. I mean, in the acting business and the directing business, there were all sort of, like the good guys and not so good guys and so on, and the snooty ones and so on. But like it was like there was just an inspiration movement. And I felt that many years afterwards briefly in New York. New York had that kind of energy. First time I spent time there, and I thought, oh wow, it was just moving. But in actual fact, at that time, nothing phenomenal was happening there. But in London, a lot of phenomenal things were happening. You see, that was a big difference. Anyhow, so I don't know.
I think you can kind of see that in the shows that were being made in the 60s. There's a huge number of these cult shows like The Saint, and I think that's why it's so popular getting towards 60 years on now, because people can tell the quality and the sort of the energy that you were describing that's around London behind the scenes does translate into what is being made for TV and film. So maybe that's part of why we still love these shows. Yeah. There was one actor I wanted to mention, Nick Zara, who played Chaudhry. You have a couple of nice scenes with him. Yes.
Yeah. Nick, I met for the first time doing that show. And prior to that, I never worked with him before. So we met on that show, and it was fine. It was like, all I remember was that Johnny Goodman's revenge thing was to actually remove the stand-in, which was a kind of a status thing. It just doesn't matter really, and it was given to Nick, and that was the drama behind the scene that took place. But Nick was a good guy, good actor, and we just met while we were doing this show for the first time.
I must mention, there's just a scene we're watching now. There's a marvelous turn from a lady called Jo Neville, who plays Mrs. Reynolds, who runs the It's worth mentioning. I think she does a good performance.
Yeah. I mean, I knew her from her performances, but I never had the pleasure of actually meeting her. So she's a very good actor. Yeah. Actually, they're very fine, and yes. So
and we must mention, of course, as Ray said at the beginning, Gary Miller, of course, passed away during the filming of this. I assume that sticks in your head quite vividly.
Yeah. Gary Miller, he played the bad guy.
Towards the end of the episode, when you're in the junkyard and you have the big chase, he's one of the two.
He was actually a nice guy, Gary, but he always got these kind of parts. He always played the big nasty guy. So, yeah. I missed a lot of the a few bits of conversation, Ray's conversation.
Oh, that's what I will. But in a nutshell, Ray got a call one evening from the producers, and originally thought he'd done something wrong because this was his first show ever to direct. And they were actually calling to say that Gary Miller passed away in a nightclub. And of course, as terrible as that was, there was also an element of how do we finish the show? A lot of it had, of course, been already finished. So Ray had to get body doubles and revoice Gary's work, so it would match with the lines off camera.
Charles, the actor.
But I think Ray credits him as Robert Rayety, who was a quite a prolific voice artist, and I think
yes,
Cornway, he's the one who provided
yes.
so it wasn't Gary's voice that we see in the
Mm,
episode as it
yes,
stands.
yes.
But because Gary was also a singer, of course, and he'd worked on the Stingray puppet Jerry Anderson.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And he did a couple
Yes,
of vocal singing performances for that,
Yes.
and also he sung the main titles, which of course I didn't know until I started to research this event.
He passed away in a bar.
Yeah, I think it was a nightclub, according to Ray. Yeah, we sort of went out one night and had a heart attack, and that was it. And
Like
this was
Oliver Reed died during the Gladiator.
very, very similar situation, and again trying to sort of salvage a performance.
Binge.
Yeah.
Drank with the sailors.
Yeah. But you quite liked working with Gary, I gather.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gary was an interesting guy. I used to see him a lot in the studio, bar, lunchtime, etc. Sometimes BBC, sometimes somewhere else, mostly BBC. I mean, we were crisscrossing, doing a lot of things at the same time. We just knew of each other, sort of thing, like most people did. And then worked with him. I actually never met with him while shooting the People Importers because we didn't have any scenes together, other than that last scene, chase, etc. He was there, I remember, and yeah, there was so okay.
We're just seeing Imogen Hazel on screen, and because the two saints that you did, the two main ones, both had Imogen Hazel, funny enough, as the guest star. So, do you have any particular memories of Imogen that you would like to share that you haven't already done so?
I just liked the scene with Imogen. That was a good scene. The one with I think Nick and I, when this character is kind of like, has some problem and he's got an infection or something, and I see him off on a street somewhere. That I like because we had a good rapport going, Nick and I, and of course Ray was always, it was a good vibe with him all of the time, every shot kind of thing. And those two things I kind of recall, etc. But the scene with Imogen I liked quite a bit.
There's lots of very good emotional beats in this episode, and it does have a very It's episode that does have a lot of heart. I think it's a very tough subject matter, but there's good character interactions, and I think it's quite a well written story. And we're getting now to the action part of the episode. I take it all actors like a bit of running around and sort of chasing, dodging bullets and stuff.
Yeah. I prefer to do action things, but it was very limited. I'd asked Ray one time, I said, why can't I get into a kind of a bit of a fight or something like that? Just elaborate this scene a little bit more. I just, instead of conquering that character, can we have a fight or something like that? But so
I suppose you're working quite quickly again on a TV. It's a very quick, so you may not be able to elaborate action sequences in a way you would on feature films.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays it's kind of like a bit different because there's a lot of unnecessary action. It's all kind of like, it's over the top sometimes, but some of it's really good. And then when you look at the action scenes back then it looks a little bit theatrical, a bit not so good all the time. Ray's stuff was good. I mean, he was a different kind of a person, but a lot of the stunts at the time. I don't know what the series were. I never did Avengers. That was but now the action now is just brilliant.
Oh yeah, there's a certain evolution to it. The main stunt arranger for The Saint was a guy called Leslie Crawford. I don't know if you ever met Les.
I might have. I don't remember. Yeah.
Because I'm guessing he would have been around quite a bit for this junkyard sequence, because
yes.
It was chiefly Roger's main double.
Yes.
You mentioned Johnny Goodman, but did you encounter Robert S. Baker?
No.
Did you encounter Robert S. Baker, the other producer?
Robert Baker. Yeah, I did. I actually did a show where Robert was directing, and that was Emergency Ward 10.
Ah, right.
And I liked him an awful lot. That's the first time I met him, actually, Robert Baker. And a very easy-going director, kind of like, very sort of settled person. And but on the same time, I never met him. I mean, I worked with him during, I think he did 2 episodes. Yeah, 2 episodes of Ward 10. I'm not mistaken. There were, directors coming in and going out all the time. And Peter Collinson was one of them. He made the movie The Italian Job, remade by Hollywood in later with other people. Robert Baker was a nice, interesting, nice person, good man.
Oh, good, good. We must talk about the chief villain, Neil Hallett, somebody very much that you grow to hate as a character, which of course.
Yeah, he did. He was the kind of traditional, sort of like on British television.
Yeah, he'd done again. Somebody done a lot of Avengers and shows like that. Yeah.
Yes. He was good. Neil was good, and that lady who played the landlady. She's really good.
Yes.
And of course, there was a lot of theater at the time. I mean, the Rep was still alive. Now it's gone, and a lot of the actors were working, doing reps. And, like Birmingham Rep was there. And then, of course, the Royal Shakespeare Company and the Stratford Company and other stuff. And but that time has kind of changed quite a bit. So,
well, I think, again, talking to previous guests about sort of why these shows have such a long life, I think one of the things that tends to sort of be an interesting theory is that because England had lots of actors that were doing TV that came from a theatre background, and we seem to sort of specialise a lot in character actors. So we had stars, but we also had interesting people like the landlady who would bring something extra and a different layer to it. And I think that's something I think we do as a nation quite well.
Oh yeah, and very fine resource of actors. I mean, and they're quite extraordinary. And
I wanted to mention another actor from the show, Ray Lonan, who played Jackson, another one of the baddies. Do you remember Ray Lonan at all?
Yeah, I do very well. I think we were in. I've done a couple of things with him. He was in. Good guy, a good actor. he did a lot of work at the time. I mean, you know, where is he right now? What's happening with him?
I think he's passed away. I'll just quickly cheat and have a little look. He died in 2014, age 74. So not that old, sadly. In terms of the actors that are still with us, Susan Travis is still with us, but she a lot of people from these kind of era of shows tend to sort of retire, or maybe they try something else. So a lot of people are quite difficult to find, and a few people sadly get forgotten about sometimes. You sort of they're listed as being still with us, and you find out, you know, through some source that they passed away. So, and unfortunately, some people do slip through the net, sadly.
I mean, a lot of my friends have gone, in actual fact. It's very strange. I mean, you know, everybody's going to go at some point, but like, you know, but you never know. I mean, I've survived a couple of times. I've survived being shot and attacked a couple of times, but I just lived through that. And
so is this due to protests regarding your work, or is this sort of something?
No. It's just kind of like, you know, the general state of affairs in a kind of dangerous place from time to time.
Yeah.
You know. So,
were you ever tempted to return to the UK, because of course because of the creative issues?
Yes, many times, as a matter of fact. But you know, it's just a question that things change so dramatically over the years that, like, I did my post-production, my film in there, and I was there for quite a while. But you know, like, I never took the nationality for some reason, because it was always home to me. It just never occurred to me that if I don't return in about 2.5 years' time, somebody's going to say that, you know, your kind of residency is expired, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's one factor. But then, you know, I'm engaged in actually work which has been actually not moving forward, because the circumstance change and politics change, and then you become kind of, you know, like nowadays you can't really speak much about anything really at this point in time. It's really dangerous to do so, and it's just weird, and you know, so if people I think back out there, they have no really general population has no idea of what this part of the world is going through actually at the moment.
Yeah,
and it's very interesting from point of view of writing stories and making a movie and things, but it's at the same time very dangerous. So it's that's the way it is. But I hope to get back and do some stuff there. I plan to actually. I wanted to go there. I was going to go there last year when I did this movie called Joyland, which did rather well. And so I thought I'd just go there. And then things were happening. I was actually in the middle of finishing something. It was not done. And it just went by. And now I have to go and take care of a couple of things, because a lot of my things are there, my films are there, and I cannot release them here at this point in time, but I have to deal with them somehow. I have to so see what happens. I mean, you know, like the thing is that it's
Did you ever do any theatre over here? And
I did theater. I started doing that, and then I got finally through auditions. I had a very good job with the offered with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I was never able to do that because there was just television shows.
Yeah,
and it was more along my line. I mean, I just wanted to make movies, and television, so this was shot on as films, and but and paid more, and it was short, and but I did theater. I've actually done 8, 9, 9. About I directed also in theater. I have done 6, 7 productions in theater that I directed, and between here and overseas. Then my last piece I did in with an American company. I directed my adaptation of Poe's The Telltale Heart, and made a movie. It's still under production at the moment. It's still in post because of complications. It's taken a long time because of funding, various other things. And I did that in the theater and we shot the movie at the same time. And I have a couple of theater productions that I want to do. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to get back to England. Actually, people have asked me to come and actually figure out there's a whole new a bunch of actors from the people my generation whose kids have grown up there, so we'll see what happens.
Yes, it'd be lovely if you could come back over. That would be wonderful. Were your parents always very supportive of you coming over to the UK? Was that something that was a...
Yes. My dad was, but my mom obviously, but was not very happy with me going away for a while. But like there were 5 brothers and 3 sisters and so on, so she had a hand for me. But but my father was very supportive, and I actually just getting back for me was a very traumatic experience, and still is, in actual fact, still is. I'm it's very weird, but I'm still like an alien now. I mean, it's because when I was at school, my time, in late 50s or early 60s, at college, briefly, it was a whole different world. It was this country was unrecognizable. It was a different country. It was totally different, completely and absolutely. Environmentally, it was an environmental haven. It was just because it was an agricultural area. It was just beautiful with like fresh air and greenery and farms. And it was a whole different ballgame, a different culture, different. I mean, now it's a war zone and prep for some time, and it's a whole different word. I just still don't figure out. I mean, how I don't understand the mechanics of the and the unspoken language and the innuendo and heaven knows what. It's just beyond me, because in England I was kind of like, okay, I was like very young at the time, but it was a very different experience for me. It was just completely absorbed. I was totally absorbed in that life. It was just anything outside that. Even Europe was kind of like, I used to go across, work in Spain and things like that, movies, because a lot of big American movies were actually shot in Spain at the time, like up to the 70s, because Spain was not EEC and the US studios got good dollar rates. And then sometimes Paris and so on. But it was like very kind of like, it was suddenly that part of my life was kind of like, unplugged. And causing sort of, malfunction in the brain. You see, it still goes on. And so now I'm trying to actually preserve those moments and reflections of my time there and my life that was so important that I don't lose it. So I just have it. So even if it's in short videos, so I can actually communicate that, the feel, the magic of that time and so on and so forth. That's one of the projects I'm engaged in right now. We're actually prepping it to start shooting those pieces. And with me, mostly with conversation and pictures and photographs and so on, shorts and things, and music and the sounds and the people I knew and the wonderful characters and so many of them. Right, they're all sort of, like it's just like losing a whole chunk of your life. It's a very weird experience for me. But I never go into the kind of like a negative dive. I am just trying to figure out what positive thing I can get out of it. So it makes a good story. It makes a good piece of drama, a good whatever. That's worth it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So your decision to come to the UK originally, was it just simply to try something new, or was it the reputation of the UK?
No, I just wanted to do this business. I wanted to be in the movies.
Yeah.
And I had actually, my first film was in Pakistan, was a French film. I was actually directing my first theater play. I was a kid. I was 19 years old. And I was very active in the college dramatic club, and I had actually just done a successful performance in Zia Mohyuddin was a Pakistani British actor, well known for Passage to India and a couple of other performances in the theater and a lot of stuff on television. At the same time that I saw I worked there. And he cast me as Mark Antony in Julius Caesar. We did that show and it became a big success out here, because at that time, there were a lot of British companies coming, theater companies to come to, I think, sometime Bristol Old Vic and companies like that will come across twice a year in this country. And it was a very different scene altogether, an interesting period. And it was not closed and claustrophobic quite. And that became very successful. My performance was very successful. And the French producer and director were out there. They'd seen that. They cast me in their film. And I've not seen that movie. I mean, it was made way back. It was, and it was, one of the producers was Claude Lelouch, who became very famous with A Man and a Woman, a French movie that changed a lot of the film kind of narrative at the time, in the 60s when I was young. And that was my first film. And I did another film immediately after that, was a Pakistani film. And that was not a pleasant experience for me. And this was a director who was very famous in Bombay, like Mumbai now, and with a string of super successful movies. He was a famous lyricist and a producer, because songs were important in the cinema in here. And I did that film because I was, I just wanted to do this. I was experienced, and I didn't really. I realized immediately, although things were very different at the time, although it was many years ago, but it was like not like what it is ended up happened today, which is a disaster story. But like, and I knew that I will not go forward in this. I wanted to learn. I just had a passion in learning, and I just wanted to go to I had, two grandmothers. I mean, my step grandmother was English, and my real grandmother was a Turkic Pashtun tribal woman. And my father's his time in the theater in Berlin, and so I was exposed to all of that from childhood onwards. In books, and Dad's house had lots of books and magazines, the period, the period of the German Expressionism, Metropolis, Reinhardt, where he worked, etc. And I just wanted to go to England. I just got married for a brief time to an English girl, and I was too young. A very nice lady, but the point is that it didn't work out. But it was an interesting experience. But England was a great experience for me. I just loved it completely. And I was there at a very magical time, like the 60s. It was just like a whole, it doesn't, something has gone awry today. I mean, a whole of Soho, I know the buildings are there, but it's completely altered. I mean, it's just kind of changed. The craftsmen have gone. And I knew London like the back of my hand, walking all over the place, from Cray Brothers areas down the East End, pubs from there to here. I understood the life, I knew it, and I had friends, and great experiences. Friends and enemies, and were also friends.
We talked about the drinking story that happened on the Saint episode. Am I correct? It was Oliver Reed and Richard Harris.
Yes.
How did you get to know them, and what was that experience like?
Just in the studio. Oliver Reed was actually. I think this was. Pinewood or Shepperton. He was actually shooting something. He was sitting on the bar, and I came and I finished work, and I just got a pint, and we just got talking, and that's it. But then I had my face punched in, because they drove up to some place in Notting Hill, and somebody was calling at this lady's name, and they asked me to go, kid, go press the bell. I rang the bell. Some guy came out, and he went, Duke, and that's why I was late on that, Saint episode. So, but then,
there were quite a couple of characters, weren't they? Sort of Oliver Reed and Richard Harris. I think when they sort of got together, they were kind of like their own, fed off each other in a good way. But of course, quite sort of known as bad boys, I think, at the time.
Yeah, but they were bad boys, but they were good-hearted people.
Yeah. Well, I think I've got so many other questions that I could go through with you. Perhaps we could do something again in the future. Perhaps on
that'd be wonderful.
That'd be lovely. And maybe we could cover your other episode, flight plan. That might be a good one to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yes, I know.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll just end then, but by just asking you, because you did say that you were working on a graphic novel when we last spoke. I just wanted to see how that was going.
I like a graphic novel. Yes, it's called Jinn and Magicians.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first attempt. I mean, it's a very interesting. It's a kind of it's an experiment of sorts. It's like a mixture of short stories and you know, a little bit of philosophical sort of reflection and some political comment, but the undercurrent is very political.
Yeah,
and it got photographs, my photographs, and my sketches as the story, and I'm a character in it. You know, it's about me. It's Jinn and Magicians. It's about this culture and the turns and twists and layers of this culture, and that's it. It is it. And you know, I'm kind of like, you know, moving at snail pace. I've got four things going. I've got a film I'm finishing, which is a drama documentary called The Golden Calf, A Mystic's Journey. It's about the Sufi traditions in this culture, in this country, and on the shrines of Sufi saints and what happens, etc. And it's that, and my brother is the producer, as you have, and that's at the tail end, has been at the tail end for a while, and last sequence remains. You know, it just needs to be cut, and that's it. It's done. About a week's work. And then I have a feature film project, which is difficult because, like, at the kind of you know, the funding sources here are very bizarre and limited, because, like, it's most of the funding in a country like Pakistan is from foreign sources with and a lot of different kind of agenda films, and it's just, so independent work that actually is the cinema is like, you know, it's just a great experience, and it will remain so for forever. It's changed so dramatically. The grammar of filmmaking has changed entirely, but it's become kind of more interesting. And at the same time, you know, what's happened is like people have. Now, I grew up in a system where films were made in a whole different way. The skills mattered a great deal. Skills, the human skills. You know, and that there's no shortcut for that. You know, I remember at the time, it was at least about, you know, 4 or 5 years before you actually got to become an operator on the camera. We were pulling focus, for instance. Now everybody is a cameraman, because, you know, you got this equipment, you press a button and the lights and the whole damn thing, it's a whole different ballgame. You can adjust the rest on the computer. But you still don't have the skill. There's no substitute for skill. Moving the action, blocking the scene. Director's job, basically, like, you know, a lot of good jobbing directors also, but is to, I mean, how you can actually break the shots down. Because, you know, the eye lens doesn't see like the eye. The eye can see all over this place, and the lens is a specific focal length. And you have to have an understanding in how these shots will cut while you're filming. I did a film for Roy Bolting, and just got a call out of the blue from them, and they say, you know, I've got a film to do with John Hurt, and this whole film was being reshot. It was called Forbush and the Penguins.
Hmm.
And it was during the time Brian Forbes was in charge of Associated British Productions Studios there at Duns, where we were shooting the Saint. And because there was some director called Al Viola from New York, who used to make commercials, shot that movie. And he won't cut. Can you imagine? Just an entire film had to be reshot. And, people like me were the beneficiaries because Roy had his people recast. John was done some sequences in the Antarctic. The crew, we couldn't go to the Antarctic to reshoot that. So John remained in the movie, and we reshot the entire film. So the thing is this, my experience is I value my experience a great deal. I value the people because every time I'm actually making something, working on something, or goes through in my head are the people that made impressions on me, how they worked. Those are my references in my life, and that's actually holds me together and gives me the confidence to do things. So skills are very important in this business because there's no substitute. No technology can actually, it's very good. I mean, if you like, I remember the time when I was doing it in the 90s, the post-production on my movie, It's Our Golden Rose, that's been banned here, and all kinds of court cases and things also. In the UK, my editor, Miranda, very fine editor, we just put out for assistants. Couldn't find any assistants. Like every day, young people who coming out of the university would drop their CVs into every production company. But they didn't know how to work on film. So Miranda had to hire her teacher, who was retired, and he said, wow, I'd love to do it. And he was out there sinking the rushes and numbering. But the thing, what I'm saying is, it simplified the whole thing, which is very good. You got the whole program condensed on the computer, so you could actually shoot 35 and send a neg, come back digital, and can do your number. But if you've gone through those steps, learning, it gives you a very solid base, which nothing else can. And the rest is imagination and innovation and imagination. But the skills are important. I mean, it's important to know the actors and acting and understand those bits. If I'm acting in a movie, I've just done this movie. There's a young kid who was directing the film, Joyland. Somebody asked me a question. You direct. I said, I'm acting. I'm acting. I'm not directing. That's not the thing. I'm a professional person. I don't go around in my head thinking, oh, it should be done like that. It should be done like this. I mean, no, that's not my job. Mm-hmm. The job is to actually do the performance to the best of my ability and, put the director's point of view across the best I can. But when I'm directing, I have a good sense of acting. I can understand the complications an actor might have because there's a lot of machinery, equipment around and lights and things like that. And people, good actors need that kind of unspoken understanding between the director and themselves to feel comfortable. And it's very important to feel comfortable, to have confidence, not just saying to somebody, but it's the kind of like, the vibe that you can put across. Ray had that quality.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I think a lot of what you're saying about how you experienced Ray back in '68 is very much how I experienced Ray when I knew him. He came across as very. You almost felt like you as soon as you met him, it's like you knew him forever. It's like he was this friend that you forgot about, and then you reunited with, and he always made you feel at ease, and he was very sort of a great people person.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of what you were saying earlier echoed in terms of my experiences with him. Yeah. So just to finish off our conversation on the People Importers, having seen it now after all those years, do you think it still holds up well? Are you happy with your performance?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I am, really.
Yeah.
I am so glad I've seen that after such a long time.
When you see yourself that long ago, do you recognize yourself? Does it seem like a different person? Is it a bit odd looking at your younger self?
Yeah, a bit, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, ushers in that entire period, that time. It's just not the performance there. It's my entire life at that time. It just, that comes alive. Where I lived, where I went, the streets where we walked, who were my friends, everything. It's a very strange experience. It's just,
And it's lovely to have those.
A very wonderful experience because, it's just those things, mosquito. And the thing is that, it's very interesting. Makes a lot of difference. I mean, I just, I just feel that I am lucky primarily to have experienced in my younger days all that I experienced, because that's the foundation for my life. However long it goes on, I don't know. And my hope is that these projects that I have at the moment, I'm able to actually complete them, especially my feature film, which is going to be, I have had to devise an entire different mechanism for shooting it, for instance, because it's location shoot and it's in Lahore city, and it's just like the traffic is unimaginable. Because, traffic laws are optional. So, you can actually do what you please. And almost every kind of conveyance module is on the street, with the exception of flying saucers, of course, or some kind of starboard situation. And but it's an important, and it's become more important for me. I mean, thank God that I can actually do it. A lot of people, my contemporaries, either I found don't have the energy or the willingness, or obviously then I don't think much about age, really, until I look at myself a little bit. And I said, but I spend time working out. I work out daily, and so far I'm in good nick. And I have survived being shot at close range from 2.5 feet away, bang, straight, just aimed at my heart, hit my arm, split my arm wide open. But I survived. So I say to myself, this must be some sort of reason to survive. I just cannot throw it away. And it not be a wasteful thing. And I think anybody who is really people who are more articulate, I suppose, in descriptions than I am, and I'm a very this is very practical business, and I'm good at what I do. If creating scenes for me is not an issue, never has been. I can improvise a scene as long as I have good actors. I know the situation and it works perfectly. That is what's important for me. Not being able to, like, I was, my film was showing at a festival in the United States, like the one that is banned here. And we had this sort of a couple of the directors from the whose films were in the festival talking about their work. I just, most of the times I don't know, how else to explain things because it's out there. It's done, it's shot and it's there. And I photographed this film and I operated the camera and did the lighting and directing, which is a tough call, but I love doing it. So the photography piece got a lot of credit for me. I mean, even Vilmos Zsigmond, who was on one of the juries, and actually praised my 2 scenes. He specifically picked up 2 scenes. And he said that they were really well done for photographically and well lit and so on. So I was just, oh, wow, that's great. And but the thing is, I had this French gentleman sitting next to me who made this. He was just phenomenal. I mean, he had words that I couldn't describe things like that. I can do them in theater action, for instance, or a movie. But lingo-wise, talking, I don't have that sort of ability. But he was just going on and on, and about this reality and what is reality, and how come? I mean, it's no reality. The minute you take a shot, I've got this pen sitting on my desk right in front of me. It's not reality, it's your interpretation of this reality. So just throw it out of the window and just go with this, go with the imagination and make it interesting. And so once in a while, when you see a film, which is done by, how many, like films that mattered to me was like, that stay in my memory, like all the films that I've seen from the time I was at school. And, I used to see a lot of movies. My dad would take me to movies and we'd see movies and then talk about them afterwards. And then, films like Billy Wilder's Ace in the Hole, and Elia Kazan's A Face in the Crowd. It's like the whole of the noir business, how many David Lean's films, you can feel, you can just feel gripped. I remember Bridge on the River Kwai watching the movie for the first time. I saw the film when I think it was being censored or something. So censor, they had just had to give a certificate. So it was a screening for the censor board in the morning. And I heard about it and I went there and I could get into the cinema and I could see the movie. I thought, wow. I mean, it was just so powerful. It was the magic, the movement in the jungle, the camera just going, cuts, bump, 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 and that the prisoner was prisoners coming into the prison camp, the Colonel Bogey, the marching, whistling. I mean, that was his kind of magic touch, building up the sequence. He had that in every film. Chicago with the funeral of the mother, Lawrence of Arabia, when they go to the headquarters and General Allenby comes out and you know, just Oliver Twist with the and not so good a film, that Ryan's Daughter. Unfortunate. It was very, just like, oh, Flaherty's Nanook of the North, and mishmash of other stuff. I thought, oh heavens, you know, why? Because like, you know, like, but like, you know, it's just, that's my life. I mean, you know, that's it. And the strange thing is this, I'm in this, in another experience here. And it's just, life is moving and looking always ahead, looking to something good and keeping the brain sort of alive. And that's a great experience. And so as long as that is there with you, then you're able to do quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for everybody, isn't it? Keep on moving and exploring, and experiencing and doing. And I think that's probably a lovely point probably to end our conversation. Well, thank you very much, Salmaan, for talking to me. It's been really a joy to talk to you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Absolutely. I just loved it completely.
Oh, good. That's wonderful. Well, I look forward to talking to you again in the future. In the meantime, good luck with your projects. Yes,
absolutely. Okay.
Great. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.
Pleasure. Thank you. Same. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.